Welcome to Virtual STEM Club Marble Run Challenge. I'm Sandy, and today we're going to take some paper plates and a cardboard tube, and we're going to create a run where we can race marbles down a spiral attached to a tube. You should have already picked up your take and bake bag for the project. Let's get started. In your take and make bag, you're going to find a square of cardboard, a cardboard tube, some duct tape, 8 paper plates, and a bunch of marbles. From home, to complete the project, you're going to need a ruler or tape measure, a pair of scissors, and a pen, pencil, or marker, whatever you find easiest to mark on your plates with. And so to start, what you're going to do is you're going to set aside the marbles, and you're going to take your paper tube and you're going to find the center of your plate and just kind of set it on the plate. And if it's not exactly centered, it'll still work. We can make some adjustments. But then take your pen or your marker, your pencil, whatever you're using to mark your plate, and just go around your tube. Draw the whole way around your tube. Make sure you can see the lines. And it's going to look like that. You can see your tube in the middle of the plate. And then you're going to take scissors and you're going to cut through the middle of the plate like this. And if you need some help with an older sibling or an adult, that's okay too. And then once you get to your circle that you marked on your plate, just cut that out. And it could be a little tricky, but that's okay. And then once you get your circle cut out, you can either mark the rest of your plates like we just did, or if you want to keep the center exactly the same without the guesswork, you can take your plate, you can lay it on top, and just trace around like this on all the rest of your plates. And that'll take some guesswork out of it. So then you can just take the rest of your plates and do like we did. You can take your scissors and just kind of cut down your plate straight across to your circle. And cut that center circle out. And you're going to want to do that on all your plates. So just keep cutting till you have your circle cut out, and there you go. So then once we get all of our centers cut out, we're going to take our tape measure or ruler, and you're going to start at one end of your tube, and you're going to take your tape measure, and you're going to take your pen or pencil or marker, whatever you used to mark your plates, and you're going to find the 1 inch on the tube, and then you're going to go to the first longer line that's going to be 1.25 inches. See, this is our 1.5 inch mark because it's halfway between the 1 and the 2. So we don't want 1.5 inches, we want it 1.25 inches. And then you're just going to take that mark, you're going to put your ruler on it, and you're going to go down again like that. And try to keep them somewhat in the same spot on the tube. And we're going to do that 9, so you have a total of 9 marks. And so just keep doing 1.25 inches. I'm trying to keep sort of in the same spot on your tube. So find my 1.25 inches. And I'll just line my ruler up on my last line and then keep marking 1.25 inches. Come back here. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So one more. 1.25 inches. All right. So now that we've got all of our marks on the tube, and hopefully you can see them, they're not in a very straight line, but that's okay. It's just going to give us a guide to where we want to tape our paper plate. So what we'll do, it's probably easier if you tear off some pieces of tape ahead of time before you start attaching the plates to the cardboard tube. And I would, for me, the smaller pieces were easier to work with, so you can either tear off or cut off. If you have a hard time tearing, you can take your scissors and cut small pieces of your tape off. Just probably 1 inch or so to start with, and see how that works for you. If you think the bigger pieces will work, go for that. So you'll cut several of those or tear several of them, just so you have them handy. It makes it easier to work if you have them. And I'm just tearing them and sticking them on the edge of my table here, so they're easy to grab. And so I'm going to take my paper plate and I'm going to stick the tube inside of that slit that we cut. And then I'm going to find my first mark at the top of the tube, and that's where my run is going to start. So I'm going to slide my plate up to that mark. That's where I'm going to start it. And I'm going to tape right there on the bottom. And the narrower pieces of tape kind of go around the tube a little better too. That's why I like the narrow pieces. And once you start working this down, we've started at this first mark, and then we're gonna kind of pull our tube down, or our paper plate, and we're gonna, the bottom half of it, we want on that second mark that we made. And what that's going to do is that's going to create the downward spiral that'll help our marbles roll down to the bottom. So our second spot is, our first mark was here, our second mark was here, and that's where we want this one to stop. And so we'll just take another piece of tape, mark that there. And if you feel like you need more security than the 2 pieces, just go ahead and take a piece of tape and stick it like that. And so then to mark the next one, and I'm gonna, so we take our paper plate and we open up the slit, and this is the tricky part. It's a little trickier here. We'll get it all the way into the middle, okay? And so we're gonna overlap where this one ends. This one is going to start. And they might not line up exactly, and that's okay, but we're gonna take our paper plate, secure these together, and we'll use another piece of tape here in a minute. But we're gonna take our bottom open end of the plate and move it down to our second mark on our tube, or third mark, I guess this one would be. But before that, I want to secure really well where our two plates met. I want to put some tape on that. So I'm gonna stick my hand inside here and kind of tape over this. And you can also tape it from the underside if you want. And when you're setting the plates on, I would make sure that the bump or the joint where the two plates go together is going this way. So the top plate, the first plate is on top of the second plate that we put on. Otherwise, if we do it the other way, it's gonna create a bump that'll slow down the marble. So you wanna make sure that the marble can flow freely down the plate. So that's why we overlap them that way. And I'll explain that again here. So we're down here at our next mark, and you can kind of see that we're starting kind of a swirl or a slope. It's high, and then it's going down, and then it's going down. So that's going to create the map or the track that the marbles are going to run on. So now that we're down to this mark, we'll take our next plate and put that on. Again, opening the paper plate, kind of sliding it on, sliding it up to this mark. And again, when we meet the two seams, we don't want to put the plate that we're putting on shouldn't go on top, because that's going to create a area where the marble would catch and slow it down. We want to put the plate that we were just working on top of the seam. So we've got this next plate. That one's underneath. Plate number 2 is going to go on top of plate number 3. We'll secure them together. We'll secure our plates on our tube. And if you have to use tape in several places to get it in the spot that you need it, you certainly can do that, which I do need tape because it's not to keep it in place. So I've got the plates attached this next level, but I don't have them attached to my tube, so I'm going to do that so they stay in place. So we're just doing things like this to get them lined up where they need to be. And if you have to stick your hand in between and kind of get them in the right spot, you can do that. And remember to use your marks also. If you turn our build upside down, you can find your marks and you can tape there. And this is why it's easier to tear pieces ahead of time. We can find our mark and tape it like so. And you may have to go back once you've completed this and kind of adjust a little bit just to make sure. But then we're going to go down with the bottom of our plate, line it up with our next mark, and keep adding plates till we're out of plates and down at the bottom. So to this point, we've taken our tube, measured it, found our center of our plates, traced it cut holes in our plates, and we've begun attaching our plates to make a spiral so that the marbles will run down the spiral and come out the bottom. And you'll continue to do that, working around and finding your marks on the tube until you've come through all your plates. And so the next step then would be to attach the tube to the piece of cardboard. And what that's going to do is make the tube stand up and be secure so it'll hold the marbles while they're running down the plates. So again, we've got some smaller pieces of tape. We're just going to start working our way around the tube and attach them to the cardboard to the tube, and use as much as you think you're going to need. Just do things, just kind of fold it up. And I'm a messy crafter here, so mine might be a little messy, but I just tore off some pieces of tape, and then I'm just attaching the tube to the cardboard. And just kind of overlapping in some spots to make sure they're secure. And if you do a couple of trials down your run and it feels like your tube isn't going to stay, you can always add a couple more pieces of tape. And you can also go around like this just to secure it. That helps sometimes. Make it more stable and doesn't seem like it's going to move too much. And then once you've done that, you can take your marbles and you can start running them down the paper plates and see how you do. Now that we've got everything assembled, we've got all of our plates attached to our tube, and we've got our tube attached to our cardboard, it's time to give it a test run. So we'll just take a few marbles and we'll set them on the plate and see how they run. If the angle is wrong, sometimes they might fall off the sides of the plates. Some of the marbles, for whatever reason, have decided they don't want to go down the marble run. But you can make adjustments. You can take another piece of tape if you need to and stick it underneath and kind of raise it up. Just kind of make sure that things are separate. Make sure all your joints on your plates are attached good. And then make any adjustments necessary. And give it a whirl and see what happens. And see, we've got a little bit of movement when we set our marbles down. That might indicate we need to maybe put a little weight on our base just to hold it down. Whoops. All right, so you just keep playing with it and keep adjusting and see what happens. See what happens if you only run 2 or 3 marbles down at a time. And some of them will go and some of them won't. Some of them are hitting other marbles. So, and if you have to kind of undo some tape and make adjustments, you certainly can do that. And some of the things that we're learning about in this marble run is gravity, because gravity is, of course, the force that pulls everything down. And we've kind of created an angle which will encourage the marbles to run down. They shouldn't be doing that, but we also have some potential energy here, and that's when the marbles are on top of the ramp. It has potential energy. When it starts here, that's the potential. We don't know what's going to happen. Like some of our marbles weren't going down and some of them did go down. We also have what is called kinetic energy, and that's when our potential energy is converted to kinetic energy, which is the energy of motion. We also have some friction here in our build. We've got, like on this particular part, I've got a little bump in my tape. which is creating some friction for the marbles. So we want to make sure that we get that as smooth as possible. So we eliminate some of the friction. Friction is a force that opposes motion. And so this little bump is slowing the marble down. It's opposing the force. We also have Newton's third law of motion, and that's for every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. So an example would be when the moving marble collides with a stationary marble, when we had some that weren't going down, the moving marble slows down. And we have conservation of energy here, and that's the total energy of the system, which is the marble and the track, remain constant, meaning the energy is neither created nor destroyed, but rather transformed from potential to kinetic energy and lost to friction. This marble run is also considered a simple machine, and marble runs are a way to explore simple machines like ramps, which start high and move down lower and lower. That's a simple machine. The marble run also creates an engineering challenge, which is building our track so that it's at the right angle so the marbles go down, and considering the slopes, optimizing the path, and of course then just having the fun. So enjoy the build, and I'd love to see any pictures or video of you doing this. Thank you for joining us today for the Marble Run Challenge. I hope you enjoyed the project, and I hope you have a lot of fun with it. We'd love to see any pictures or video of you doing this project, and you can share them with us at the email address coming across the screen now. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time. Bye.